How's it going, guys? This is Sean Phoenix, otherwise known as Phoenix Smasher 5 PSN account, coming at you with my first video. Right now we're going to do a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck debut, deck profile of the Lavals. And the Lavals are a very aggressive deck in my opinion. They got a really fun strategy. Basically, it's a lot of graveyard building, a lot of using Rekindle, and then a lot of synchro summoning. So it's personally one of my favorite deck builds. I have absolutely a good time playing with them, and it's just I don't think it's to a point where it's broken. So I don't know. Yeah, we'll get into the main board and then the extra, and then a couple strategies so you guys can get started. Right now, we got 3 Laval Volcano Handmaidens, and these girls are pretty much the basic engine of the deck. What happens is when they get thrown to the graveyard, either by the hand, from the deck, from the field, what have you, and there happens to be another Laval in the graveyard with them, you can take it. Take your deck, throw any other Laval monster from your deck to the graveyard. This means you can take another Handmaiden, followed by another Handmaiden, then followed by any other Laval monster, which is a great graveyard build. This is the main engine for the deck. I highly recommend 3. Next thing, we're going to go into 3 Laval Cannons. These things are almost just as good, if not more so, because what happens is, if you happen to get any Laval monster banished, which trust me, you will, you can summon this guy, take any Laval that you have banished, and then you can go in for a sync with let's say with Handmaiden, sync for 5, or if you get any sort of other Laval monster out, 6, 7, whatever, into something pretty big. Now next two Laval Lakeside Lady. These people are great in the graveyard because what they do is if she and 2 other Lavals with different names are in the graveyard, so totaling of 3, you can banish her and another Laval from your graveyard in order to destroy any of your opponent's set cards. That's any opponent's set monster, any opponent's set spell or trap. So this is what definitely builds your cannon play, and I highly recommend 2 because I feel like 3 gets pretty cloggy. Next, we're going to go into 2 Laval Magma Cannoneers. Now these guys aren't extremely good. What they are is pretty much more grave building strategy, and it's 17 attack, so it's an okay beater. Up to twice per turn, you can throw any Laval or fire monster from your hand to the graveyard to deal your opponent 500 damage. So it's 500 damage for each card, which you can equal 1,000 per turn. I mean, that's not the main strategy, but you can, if there's no Laval in the graveyard, you throw a Handmaiden away, and you already got your graveyard built. Next, we got 2 Force Sprite. Some people run 1, some people don't run it, but I like to run 2 because what happens is you can get to this really big play by banishing her, getting Cannon, summoning Cannon, bringing back the Force Sprite, and getting a level 6 for your graveyard. And if you got a Rekindle in your hand, that's a pretty much first turn Red Nova. We're going to go into Laval Miller. What this does is if it's attacked by and destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you take 2 Lavals from your deck and throw them to the grave. So what happens then is this is pretty much 5 free Lavals in the graveyard if you're attacked, man. Because you get the Laval Miller, 1 Handmaiden, and some other Laval. Then you start your Handmaiden chain and then end with yet another Laval. So there's 5 extra Lavals that get to go thrown into the graveyard for a Rekindle play. We got 2 Flamvell Firedogs, a 19 beater, and its Searcher. When it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, sends it to the graveyard, special summon any fire monster with 200 defense or less from your deck. This is pretty much good because you can destroy some, bring out a level 2, sync for 6, bring out a 1, sync for 5, 3, sync for 7, whatever, man. It's just an overall great card for this deck. 1 Morphing Jar. Now, a lot of people say that you should sideboard Morphing Jar, you shouldn't run Morphing Jar. The one thing I've been finding from playing this deck a lot is your hand burns out pretty quick, no pun intended. You make these big plays, and you're without a hand. So if you can get Morphing Jar going, then you can just set up for a free hand of plays. And trust me, if you get 1 Rekindling in your hand, maybe going through about 20 cards, you already got a great game to go with. Not only that, but if you happen to have like 1 Handmaiden, 2 Handmaidens in your hand, use Morphing Jar, you discard the Handmaidens, and their effects go off. Next, we're going to go into 2 Veilers, which you should already know what they do. Negate any monster, and Gorz, of course. Moving over into the spell board, we got 3 Rekindles. which this is the main card for this deck. Without Rekindles, it's going to be really difficult to actually have a Laval deck and have fun with it. You special summon as many fire monsters as possible with 200 defense. Now, the thing is, at the end phase, if some of them happen to be on the field still, they're banished. Because what you're going to do is you're going to use this card, bring back your non-tuners and tuners, and do a bunch of sync plays to get some monsters going. And if something happens to survive, banish it at the end phase. Then, if that's the case, cannon it next turn. It's a great card, guys. Now, 3 gold Sarks. You're going to use these gold Sarks to get your Rekindles, or you can do what I call the, I don't call it, but what I learned was called the Golden Cannon play. You play the gold Sark, you banish something like Laval Force Sprite, and you normal summon Laval Cannon, and then you already got your graveyard built, so long as no Veilers are going off anywhere. Anyways, going on. We got 1 Foolish Burial, and pretty simple fact, if you happen to have another Laval and no cards in your hand that can build the grave, Foolish will be your main go-to. We got 1 Forbidden Chalice, which has definitely been helping me a lot lately. It's a free negate effect of your opponent's monster at any time, pretty much. But I mean, they gain 100 attack or 400 attack, but who cares? A Forbidden Lance. This is good because if you happen to summon like Cannon and they want to bombless you, you lance them. What can they do about it? They got nothing, pretty much. The only downside is it takes away 800 attack, but if you're not even keeping around for long, what's the difference? 1 Pod Duality, I think you all know what that does. 1 Reinforcement of the Army, get your Cannon. Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, Monster Reborn, staple cards. Now we're going to move on over to the traps. We got 1 Flamvell Counter. Now, a lot of people have been kind of sketchy about this card, but I want to run 1 simply because it's your Dark Bribe, man. They don't have to draw anything. You banish any fire monster with 200 defense and get any spell or trap. That's great, because then if they happen to friggin' let's go back to the Cannon example. You summon the Cannon, they bottomless you Flamvell Counter it, you banish a Laval tuner, and they already screwed themselves over. 2 Solemn Warning, pretty much stop any of your opponent's summons. 2 Compulse, simply because I don't like destroying anymore and banishing like bottomless anymore, because there's so many ways to get around destroying these days. I like to do Compulse because that can be pretty much done at any time, and there's not too much that can negate bouncing per se. 2 Mirror Forces, you already know what it does, and 2 Torrential Tributes, you already know what that does. We're going to move on to the extra deck. For the Xyz, we got 1 Steelswarm Roach. This thing will definitely mess up any high level special summoning decks that you face. I just played a regionals and it really actually helped out a lot against agents and some dark worlds, so I highly recommend 1. Overall, it's definitely worth whatever money you pay for it. We got ourselves an Allied Justice Catastor, almost a staple in my opinion. It just destroys anything that's not dark. Why not have it? TG Hyper, exceptional draw power. It is one of the best cards in my opinion for this deck, because you're going to be doing a lot of Rekindling and a lot of synchro summoning. So if you got a big play going off, get the TG Hyper out first and then go from there. 1 Laval Dual Slasher, personally one of my favorite Laval synchro monsters around, and what that does is if there happens to be 2 Lavals in the graveyard when he's out, he can attack twice if he happens to attack another defense position monster, and if there's 3 in the graveyard, he can also do piercing. So that's 2 attacks of 24 against your opponent who's trying to play on the defense. It's pretty difficult for them to not be hurt by that. 1 Lavalval Dragun. This is pretty much your semi-Brionic. Since Brionic is banned, that makes this card that much better. Pretty much, you shuffle 2 Laval monsters into your deck to bounce any card on your opponent's side of the field back to their hand. This is great because then if you got like 2 cannons in the graveyard, you send those 2 cannons back into your deck and you bounce 1 back to their hand, and that just opens up for your cannon plays all over again. We got 2 Lavalval Draguns. What these guys do, once per turn you can add 1 Laval to your hand and send 1 Laval to the graveyard. This is great because if you happen to have a Handmaiden in your hand, you bring any Laval you need to your hands from your deck like Cannon, throw away your Handmaiden, start the Handmaiden chain, and you're all set for the graveyard. 1 scrap Archfiend, just cause. He has identical attack and defense to Laval Stennon, without any cost, without any effect. So he's a pretty good beater. Ancient Flamvell Deity is freaking great for this deck, guys. The only thing you need to remember is you need 1 Pyro non-tuner. If you don't have the Pyro non-tuner, it's not going to go off. But what it does, when you synchro summons, you take the cards that that's in your opponent's hand, count them, and then banish that much from your opponent's graveyard. And then it gains 200 attack on top of that for each that you banished. This will fuck up an Exodia deck like no one's business. This will fuck up a deck that relies on the graveyard like no one's business. And it's overall just a pretty fun card in general. Laval Stennon. Stennon is great because you get him out, you have to send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard. Now again, with that Handmaiden, you can send the Handmaiden away, start your chain again. Or if you already have your graveyard built, you send 1, you get another Laval just for free. You can start the whole Lakeside late play with that. Also, I forgot to mention, this guy actually, if he's targeted by any sort of card effect, spell, trap, monster, whatever, you can banish a Laval to negate and destroy that card that's targeting it. Now, as you saw just a few seconds ago, the Black Rose Dragon, pretty simple, nuke the field. Stardust, you know what it does. Scrap Dragon, you target 1 card that you control, 1 card your opponent controls, destroy them both. Good card. Red Dragon Archfiends, and Red Nova. Now overall, this deck runs extremely well in my opinion. I think that it's one of the best aggro decks that I play anyways. And to be quite honest, it's really fast. You can go first turn Nova and pretty much fuck over your opponent, or you can get a lot of synchro plays out, get a lot of monsters, and yeah, that's it. I'd appreciate any sort of comments and feedback about, you know, what I could do to the deck to better it. Try to get it more prepared for bigger tournaments. Try to get it better prepared for stronger decks these days, like the Wind-Ups or the Chaos Dragons or whatever. Well, yeah, this is Sean Phoenix with his first deck profile of the Lavals, and I hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.